I do want to make a really specific point about his politics as they address the actual subject that we're supposed to be debating, right? So the title of the the title of the panel is media manipulation. What's the source of the problem? Which of course one source of the problem is James O'Keefe, but beyond that, that's it's also if you're concerned, right, about manipulation of media, meaning either like false things get promoted or legitimate perspectives get shut down, or you're not you're not free to discuss things, then it seems to me that you really need to be talking about a couple things, but the one that's going to be most relevant for where we're going right here is, why is it that, like, if you're really concerned about about free speech, and not just the speech of like people who own big media platforms, but like anybody's speech, right? Anybody's ability to like speak their mind and not suffer bad consequences from it, then like any normal person, assuming that we're talking about a society like the contemporary United States, where you're not just going to like be put in prison or whatever, saying the wrong thing, like any normal person, like what's your number one concern about like something that would be bad that happens to you if people get like really pissed off about something you say? Like what would you get fired, of course, right? So okay, so given that, you would think that if you were really concerned about this issue, what you would want is a society where it's hard to fire people, right? Where there's some sort of like process that you go through. You can't be just fired arbitrarily, right? You get some due process. People have to really prove that you did something bad enough. You have to specify, perhaps in some sort of contract, which things you can and can't be fired for. So, Jake, what would an institution be that would allow people to achieve these things at their workplace?
A labor union. I was trying to think of a joke, but I couldn't even think of
it. No, I mean, a labor union, right? I mean, like, so if this guy is really serious, right, about free speech, you'd think he'd be super duper pro union, because I mean that's the biggest reason that like that's the biggest consequence people face right now. If they do the wrong thing, say the wrong thing, right, they can be fired. So you'd think that he would be super duper pro union, want everybody to unionize, right? So you can't fire anybody, right? Without having real protections and due process, and like a union rep who can represent you in that process to make sure you don't get railroaded. And yet, we have actually pretty early in the saga of Project Veritas, which you're going to be able to tell as soon as we start watching these clips, because there is I'm not going to spoil it, but there is a pretty dated cultural reference that these videos center around. Pretty early in the saga of Project Veritas, they spent a lot of time going after specifically teachers' unions in New Jersey.
3, 4 legislators, oh, what's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. NJEA is really great. When we say new, you say Jersey. New Jersey, New Jersey.
Get ready. The following is a paid program for teachers' unions gone wild. What happens when you take the upper echelon of teachers and union leaders in New Jersey?
This is for the upper echelon leaders of the NJEA.
And bring them together into one lavish hotel? It can only add up to one thing. One wild and crazy NJEA leadership conference. Get ready to get down with some dirty teachers who will school you on how to have a good time.
Ever going to the NJEA again?
No, it's my fair share of tuition.
You get so much free shit. So what's
That's why we're laughing here. We're like, ha ha ha, playing video games and they're dying.
I would just say good if teachers have nice conferences. Like what you want like Bitcoin scammers to be the only people that can rent out a conference center? Like I think that's fine. Just to note, like, yeah, so James O'Keefe went to Rutgers, and his first sort of stunt was complaining to the administration as an Irish person that Lucky Charms was offensive. And that got and the administration actually listened to him until they realized that he was filming them. You're like, can you turn that camera off? He's like, oh, I don't know. And then that was it. That went viral enough for him to like get picked up by Breitbart, so he could, actually, Ben, you should go dressed as a pimp to the first speech.
Yeah,
just show up with a cane.
Yeah, he. In fact, James O'Keefe, shamefully, was a philosophy major at Rutgers, but that was about 10 years before I got there. So I had no role in educating James. So just for the record, but yeah, I mean, this is like. I mean, honestly, I think it's kind of funny that like it's the lavish hotel, but they're trying to come up with like some of the like, oh, what are they doing on your whatever inflated salaries that are paid for these union dues that are paid for them to rent a hotel for the weekend. They're playing video games. Like,
yeah, I was all ready to be like, yeah, sometimes maybe sometimes money is misspent. I was ready to backpedal, but I was like, they're at a conference. Like that is the most basic thing an organization could have.
You couldn't get someone doing a bump of coke. Like, I mean,
well, hold that thought. Actually,
okay.
But yeah, I mean,
I want to say one.
The video games is just such a weak example, right? It does not cost anybody very much money. But go on.
They're playing Papa Shot on our dime.
Yeah.
It's they get more and more tokens off of our tax money.
O'Keefe's somebody who's gotten multiple people fired with his journalism, for whether it's like the pimp thing or the like faking I think a kidnapping thing that anyway, yeah, that's all in Tim Bontos' video as well.
Fair enough. So yeah, and there is well, actually, since you mentioned it, we can't skip ahead to the drug one. So let's
yeah.
Okay, go ahead and do that.
Maybe this is not how you think. This is how I think. I'm a teacher. I'm not driving around fucking weed in my car, but I'll have it delivered to my house.
And now, I should say that later in the clip he actually does offer him some coke, so that is actually true, right? That he brought some coke to the conference and he did some. I will say, maybe it's just that I lived in Miami for 6.5 years, and but that doesn't strike me as a capital crime. But
no, I mean, I said that because like that would be the sort of thing where I'd feel like at least you could come home with that. I mean, it is a conference; people are going to bring party drugs. Like, what world do people live in? Scandal, like adults are adults.
Can you believe that teachers in their personal time when they're not with students partake in like illegal drugs? It's
yeah.
That's the thing that most hit me about that clip. That's why I wanted that specific part, right? Even it's not the most salacious part that comes after he offers him the coke, which again, as you said, it's a conference. People are going to bring drugs, right? I mean, this is, if you've ever been to a conference of anything, right? That's, but like, also, I guarantee you at CPAC there were people who showed up with that, right? That's like there's no doubt whatsoever.
I mean, Kudlow was there.
That's true. But like what I really like about that clip though is like look, if they were just doing the bump of coke, whatever, I still think it'd be silly to freak out about it. But like, they're making an issue, right? They felt the need to include that clip, right? That like this heavily edited thing that he's saying, and he even says in the clip, "Look, it's not like I'm bringing weed to school with me, but sure, right, I have to deliver to my house, right?" It's like, yes. So when I am not at work, right, then like most American adults at some point or another, I'll smoke weed, right? Like, let's
exactly.
Okay. Like,
yeah,
that's, You know,
I mean, the paranoia about teachers is wild. Like, I mean, just to bring Tulsi back up again, like Tulsi's not only doing the ultra the like no transitioning thing, she was also doing no sex education. You need to be 18. So she's going like back to the 80s. Like, not only like should we like not, you know, be very careful about what we say in front of first graders. Not fucking senior high school. That's too early for Tulsi Gabbard to be like talking about sex in schools. That's just between you and the parent.
No, well, okay, the parents, fair enough. I was going to say, you know, you get the birds and the bees at your college orientation, right? You know, that's like nothing before that.
Yeah, it's stop at buzzed was my orientation, and this is what sex is, and don't do it. We're all there to learn what sex is, freshman orientation. But yeah, I mean, is it kind of like it's like a loophole if you're trying to feint to be libertarian? It's like kind of a loophole where you're like, you know, kids aren't people yet, so we can like, you know, decide what's right for them, and that's kind of like where we get to like flex more of our authoritarian impulses. I don't know. I mean, I don't know, but I don't know as much about O'Keefe. Would he be like, oh, I'm kind of like a libertarian, or would he be like, yeah, no, I actually like, you know, think that we should be legislating like what happens inside people's homes and stuff like that?
That's a good question, actually.
Yeah, that's a little hard to say. I mean, I think that like he's so focused on sort of finding, you know, progressives doing things that he finds outrageous, right? You know, that like I don't know. I don't know if there's a good statement. I don't know that there's a good James O'Keefe equivalent of Tim Pool explaining that he's a centrist because he's, you know, far left, but he does for, you know, whatever he was trying to say, right? Like I don't think there's even that for James O'Keefe, or if there is, I haven't found it yet. If anybody knows what it is, please send it to me before Saturday. But I just,
yeah, I agree with Mr. Slaw there. Yeah, I don't think he gives a fuck. I think he's like, he wants to find embarrassing stuff that gets him attention. And you know what the Republicans do with it, like as long as he keeps getting invited and getting bankrolled, you know, I imagine that's all he gives.
You know what's funny about that clip? You're saying it's embarrassing. Imagine like showing that to the average student, like if it's a high school student and you see that your teacher is like doing coke on the weekend, you'd be like, this is the least embarrassing.
Oh my god, yeah, Mr. Loebel's awesome.
Exactly. Well, I do have one thing about the legislation, but to well, actually, I guess this is as good a time as any. I will say that. So I had a feeling we were like prepping this episode. I had a feeling there'd be a bunch of teachers union stuff, just because that seemed like that would be something that he would not be able to stay away from, and I was right. But so I looked at the website of Project Veritas, you know, where that has a bunch of these clips, and on there they have this little thing. The structure of this kind of reeks of like, this is for donors, right? So they can kind of see the results they're getting from their work, right? You know, that there's like, here's the clip, here's an explanation of what's going on in the clip, and here's the like the victories that we had as a result of it, right? Like at the end.
It's like your Grubhub driver taking a video of your delivered order.
yeah, exactly. So, and in that, and in the results thing, they did brag about Chris Christie signing a bill that weakened tenure for teachers in New Jersey, that you have to do 4 years instead of 3 years before you get the due process protections, and you know it's easier to fire people at various points. So so they do see this as a victory. They see this as a good thing, right? So that is one legislation thing I see. But they also want, okay, so do we have so let's just do the other O'Keefe ones quickly, because I think it all makes the point here, right? So I think we have like a little part 2 within this video, if we got that. So let's do that first.
And watch out! No one can stop this wild party. Not even New Jersey's Governor Chris Christie.
Let's have a whiskey and get a little misty. Join me now and slander Chris Christie. Here comes Chris with a weapon stick. What are we going to do? Kick him in the pool!
Everybody wants to, you know, take this guy out one way or the other. You know what I mean?
The education system, it's not good with the current the governor. You know.
Yeah, no, it's the whole thing seems like it's a mess.
You couldn't make it out there, but the subtitle said Christie is a fuck. So there's a lot of and then we have the Christmas one, which is pretty much more of the same. We've got that.
From the guys who brought you Teachers Unions Gone Wild.
Which was the night before Christmas, when all through the house,
The holiday season is a time for giving.
not a creature was stirring,
A time for joy.
not even a mouse.
A time for peace.
The governor cut the budget?
Yes.
What did he base that on?
He's a bastard. He's a bastard.
He's what?
I just called the governor a bastard, and I don't know who you are.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm very uncomfortable talking to you. Teachers Gone Wild in
I'm
New
really
Jersey.
sorry.
That's okay. I'm just not comfortable. Teachers Gone Wild, and there's a gentleman out there in the public quoting people.
It's happy holidays from the Teachers Union. You can expect the presents under their trees will be plentiful.
The stockings were hung by the chimney with care.
Because under 10-year policy for union teachers, it's always Christmas in New Jersey.
But how long will it take me to get tenure in this day?
3 years and a day.
3 years and a day. Do you mean you're completely secure if you got tenure?
Yes, completely. Unless, like, you know, like beat up a kid.
But you've actually got to beat a kid up, in other words.
Right.
And in keeping with the holiday spirit, these union teachers have some warm season's greetings for Governor Chris Christie.
Yeah, he's a nut.
He cut Montclair $4 million last year.
Oh no, he's a liar.
Really?
Oh yeah, he's a liar.
I'd hate to be in his family.
With our new governor, he's cutting back on a lot of our resources.
I mean, is he that crazy?
Yeah.
Just
He's
complain-
anti-education.
We hate him.
Really?
Oh yeah.
You hate him?
He has been on, in our opinion, a vendetta against teachers. We don't know what a teacher ever did to him along his life.
That's why our governor hates us.
He just hates the teachers union.
We have like 2.5 more years of him.
I feel uncomfortable so far just by virtue of my surname. And my name is actually Kevin Christie. And every time I No,
Say
why?
no more. Say no more.
Why?
Just make sure you tell me no relation.
Really? I mean...
Make sure you tell everybody no relation.
No, I'm no relation, I promise you.
There arose such a clatter. I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter.
Right.
There's probably something in it for him. His big push is for charter schools, and charter schools can make a profit. And then he's got business connections.
Well, he's really pushing to move up in the political world.
If you follow the money, it's like somewhere the money will be coming back. You can make a profit. Like he just hooked in with Cory Booker down in Newark.
Right.
And with that Facebook
Also
donation
true.
of $100 million.
He's trying to bridge the deficit that we have in the state of New Jersey.
And is that a good thing?
No.
And have you been naughty this year? Afraid to receive coal in your stocking? If you're a union teacher, don't worry about it. Teachers first, kids second.
Wow.
Why did they include that? That was like I was like learning. I was like,
I was gonna say, that's
can we get her on? Like,
Yeah, totally. I would absolutely I would have her on. But like it just seems like, so the two things in this video, one, the point they ended on, that you actually have due process protections before you get fired as a teacher in New Jersey if you've been there for a few years, which apparently James thinks is a really bad thing. Some of the other videos in this series that we didn't clip are basically just like James or other undercover Project Veritas people, but talking to like union officials and being like, well, what if I do this bad thing? Then will the union represent me in the process? And they're like, yeah, of course. Right? Like that's how that works, right? Which is like saying like, that you've really done a gotcha for a criminal defense attorney when you're like, so what if I was accused of murder? Would you still defend me? It's like, yeah, I'm a criminal defense attorney, right? I mean, that's my
double
job.
murder, triple murder. What about
It's like, yes, if you're accused of a crime, I'll defend you, right? Like that. This is a good thing that you have, workers organizations that can help people through the process and make sure that they're not being railroaded. But even if somebody really did it, it's good to have to prove it. Right, that they have to prove that they really did the bad thing and that it really was that bad. That's these all seem like good things to me. But then, so that's half of it, right? They're just outraged about that it's not easier to fire teachers in New Jersey. But then the other half is like, oh my God, do you know that unionized like activist teachers in New Jersey really hate Chris Christie? It's like, I don't know. They seem to be giving a lot of good reasons.
it's like, apart from intent, which is to be like, you know, a bootlicking snitch for America's bosses, that's some of the best journalism I've ever seen. Like, it's honestly like found footage. Like, to see these women express themselves and hit Cory Booker, like, motherfucker. Like, if you weren't just like a Republican hack or like a pro corporate hack, you understand, like, this is not just someone attacking a Republican. They're attacking a class of politician that is, like, you know, I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but elite. Like, and they want to hollow out public education for profit. And all those teachers give you that. And right from like, I mean, it makes me feel ashamed. Like, we should be doing this sort of stuff, except, like, I guess the problem is, like, you get people to speak candidly, then
right.
it does feel like you're exposing them, right? But, like, and so it's like there's something that's kind of like sort of like
I mean it's right, because people are afraid, as you see in the clips, they're afraid to be caught saying these things because they're worried that if they speak their mind about these important issues that affect them, that despite the teachers union being there, that, you know, that'll still be used against them, that it'll still be bad, you know, like, which, I mean, but they're not. I mean, what they're saying is like, look, here is a list of actually very well thought out complaints about how horrible Chris Christie was as the governor of New Jersey, right? Like, what were they wrong about exactly?
Yeah, you go from like the systemic analysis of charter schools to like psychoanalysis of something a teacher did something to him, but like that's all. Like that's I put that in a time capsule. Like, I would love to hear what like teachers like 100 years ago were saying about their governor. That is absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, no, and right. I mean that they seem to have a good analysis of it. That, you know, they're
like,
right about.
It's so
they're
wild,
right about
man.
the charter schools. They're right that it's bipartisan. But yeah, you were saying.
Right. I mean, it's just so wild. Like that clip is like, yeah, they're cutting our resources, and it's like, yeah, go Chris Christie. Look at how awesome he is. It's like I feel like I'm like going crazy. How like, unless you're really narrow casting this to a certain, like, I mean, Breitbart audience, let's face it, like, to anybody else, that just seems bizarre.
Yeah, absolutely. It does make me wonder what, like, any random person who happened to come across this footage ever thought about it, right? I mean, obviously, you know, it has been many a moon since I've seen a Girls Gone Wild commercial, so this is all wild in the past, but
Look, okay. It's a brilliant idea. Like, let's take like the weaponized misogyny of Girls Gone Wild and aim that at teachers. Like, it's a perfect plan. Yeah.
I think Girls Gone Wild was mostly the girls giving like very nuanced critiques of misogynistic culture, and I'm just like, can you believe it? Like,
these sorority girls are in Cancun, and you won't believe what they have to say about daycare and abortion access.
Yeah, they would probably react. Yeah, they'd probably react the same way to their core audience.
Pay equity. You have been watching free public content from Give Them an Argument. To access every single episode of the show, the main show on Monday nights, all of the streams, all of the debate breakdowns, all of the patron-exclusive postgames on Monday nights, all of the patron-exclusive bonus episodes every week, and much, much more, go to patreon.com/Ben Burgis. I cannot resist ending this with, don't be foolish.